Have you ever had someone look into your eyes as if you were the only thing keeping them standing? Have you felt that weight, the weight of being the mirror in which another desperately tries to see who they are? This is the first request you need to avoid. Tell me who I am. At first, it may seem beautiful. A deep connection, constant compliments, that feeling of being needed. But soon you realize, this person is not relating to you. They are trying to find themselves inside you. In Sartre's philosophy, this is called being for others, when we allow ourselves to be captured by someone else's gaze. When we don't live as free subjects, but as objects waiting for approval. It's subtle. They ask if they're pretty. He needs you to say he's strong, intelligent, special. And suddenly this becomes routine, an insatiable hunger for validation, an abyss you can never fill. And the most dangerous part? You begin to shape yourself to the role the other needs. You stop being spontaneous and become the reflection that keeps them standing. You become a mirror, not a presence, appearance, not essence. Sartre reminds us, the look of the other alienates me from myself. And that is exactly what happens. The other turns you into an actor in a script you didn't write, and one you can't step out of without causing pain. So if someone needs you to tell them who they are, beware. You are not in a relationship. You're in a play. And you're the set piece that can't leave the stage. The question that remains is, how many times have you played that role? And how many times have you let yourself fade away to keep the other person whole? Have you ever held someone's hand and felt, in that touch, the unspoken request, please guarantee that this will work out? As if love were only possible with a lifetime warranty. This is the second request that can destroy your freedom. Guarantee me this will work. Behind this phrase lies a deep refusal to accept a simple and brutal truth. Everything is risk. To love is a risk. To stay is a risk. And to leave, even more so. In Sartre's philosophy, this refusal is called bad faith, the self-deception we use to escape the anguish of being free. The person who demands absolute guarantees is fleeing from their own existential responsibility. They want insurance against pain, uncertainty, failure. But can you promise something that doesn't depend solely on you? Perhaps you've been through this. A partner who insists you swear you'll never change. A partner who wants to know right now if you'll still be together in 10 years. People who turn love into a rigid contract, with clauses that suffocate spontaneity. But the truth, the raw and beautiful truth, is that there is no manual, no script, no certainty. There is only the now, and the now demands presence, not promises. Sartre writes that we are condemned to be free, because even when we choose not to choose, we are choosing. And when we say it will work out, we pretend there is a future already written, when, in fact, it is we who write it all the time, line by line, choice by choice. You don't have to run from people who are afraid. Everyone is. But run from anyone who demands you erase the risk of existence in the name of emotional comfort. Run from anyone who corners you with questions like, do you really love me? It'll be forever, right? You'll never change your mind, right? Because those questions are not declarations of love. They are attempts to imprison time. Relationships are not impregnable castles. They're desert tents, fragile, movable, but alive. And what keeps them standing is not certainty, but the daily choice to remain there, even not knowing what comes next. The question is, are you loving, or trying to buy certainty, disguised as affection? Have you ever loved someone who looked at you as if you were their only chance to escape the void? That's not love. It's a silent plea for salvation. And this is the third kind of request you need to avoid. Save me. At first, it seems noble, almost heroic. You feel you have a special role in that person's life, as if they chose you to rebuild them, to heal them, to give meaning to their existence. And you accept because it feels good to be needed. But gradually, the burden grows. You cannot fail. You cannot be sad. You cannot change your mind. Because if you fall, their world collapses. Sartre calls this delegating one's own existential project to another. When someone says, by words or gestures, "You are all I have," what they're really saying is, "I've abdicated responsibility for myself. Now it's on you." But no one can live for you. No one can endure anguish for you. And no matter how much they love you, no one can save you from yourself. Relationships born from this kind of request are emotional traps. You become guru, therapist, savior, anything but a human being with your own pain. And the worst part? If you fail, you become the villain of the story, because the salvation they expected never arrives, because the miracle they projected onto you was never possible. Sartre said, "It doesn't matter what they did to you. What matters is what you do with what they did to you." This phrase sums up the brutality and the beauty of existential responsibility. Only you can navigate your own pain. Only you can give meaning to your life. If someone demands you save them, you're not being loved. You're being used as an escape. And as hard as it is, you need to leave, not with indifference, but with firmness. Because the more you feed that dependency, the more you destroy yourself and the other. Of course, we all need support, but support is different from outsourcing. To love is to walk alongside, never to carry the other on your back. The question that remains is, in how many relationships have you been the savior? And how many times did it end in resentment, yours or theirs? You sit in a cafe. Across the table, someone who says they love you looks at you with a smile, but in their eyes, a warning. Don't stray from what I love about you. Deep down, what they are saying is, never change. And this is the fourth dangerous request, because it seems caring, but is control. It seems admiration, but is petrification. It's an attempt to trap you in a version they learned to love, even if that version is already dying inside. According to Sartre, existence is transcendence. We are not static. We are movement, project, reinvention. Each choice is a new draft of who we want to be. But when someone demands you remain the same, they are denying your freedom. They're trying to turn a living being into a monument. It's like saying, "Your function is to please me as you are now, and I do not permit your transformation." Maybe this has happened to you. You start to change, new interests, new ideas, new desires, and someone says, "You're different." Not as praise, but as accusation, as if growing were a betrayal. Relationships like this begin with passion and end in a museum. The person doesn't love you. They love the memory of you. And any new version of yourself is seen as a threat, not expansion. Sartre said, "Man is what he makes of what has been made of him." If you live in constant change, it's because you're alive. But if someone demands you never change, they are asking you to stop living so they don't have to change along with you. That request, never change, is subtle but corrosive. It steals your freedom little by little, and before you know it, you're living a caricature of yourself just to keep a relationship alive. Authentic love doesn't demand permanence. It walks alongside change. It adapts, rewrites, is reborn. So the question I leave you with today is, how many times have you diminished yourself to keep fitting into an old version of yourself that the other still needed? They rest their head on your shoulder and sigh, "You make me feel so good." It seems sweet, and it is. But sometimes, hidden in that kind of phrase, there is a weight that wasn't agreed upon, the responsibility for the other's happiness. Make me happy is the fifth request you need to learn to recognize and avoid, because it's not love. It's an existential shortcut. It's the attempt to outsource a task that is, and always will be, individual, sustaining one's own sense of life. Sartre wrote that it is we who give meaning to things. There is no pre-existing essence. There is no written destiny. This applies to everything, including happiness. When someone places on you the mission of making them happy, they are, in fact, refusing to live the necessary emptiness of freedom. And freedom hurts. It's much easier to blame another for sadness than to face the absurdity of existence. It's easier to demand that someone inspire you, save you, cheer you up, than to accept that no one can fill the void you yourself refuse to confront. Have you felt this? The other frustrated, demanding more attention, more romance, more presence, as if it were your obligation to ensure they feel whole? But happiness is not a service you provide, and love is not a pharmacy where you buy relief when you feel bad. When someone blames you for their sadness or accuses you of not giving enough, they are often using the relationship as a shield against their own anguish. And this slowly kills you. You start measuring your words, planning your gestures, living according to the other's mood. And one day, you wake up feeling you can no longer be yourself, because being yourself may no longer be enough to sustain anyone's joy. Sartre said, "Existence precedes essence, and this means each of us is responsible for creating, out of nothing, what we wish to be. Happiness, therefore, is a personal construction. Sharing is possible. Outsourcing is not. True relationships are made by two beings who know how to be alone, and who choose, nonetheless, to walk together. Therefore, if someone demands you make them happy, perhaps it's time to ask, what has that person been doing with their own freedom? 5 requests, 5 traps disguised as affection. Tell me who I am, the desire to be defined by another. Guarantee me this will work, the flight from risk, freedom, and time. Save me, the cowardly transfer of the responsibility to live. Never change, the attempt to imprison the flow of existence. Make me happy, the abandonment of one's own project of meaning. They all have something in common. They are refusals of freedom, masks of bad faith, this deeply human mechanism that Sartre unveiled, where we pretend not to be free so we don't face the weight of choosing. But you are free. And that, as he wrote, is both a privilege and a condemnation. Because being free means there is no one to blame, neither God, nor fate, nor the other. Only you, facing the void, and the possibility of creating something new out of it. And this applies to love, to friendship, to encounters, to everything. The invitation I leave you with is not to distance yourself from people. It's to distance yourself from the games, the roles, the relationships where someone wants you to be less than you are, just so they don't have to grow. Be brutally honest. Whose reflection are you becoming? For whom are you trying to be the answer to questions that aren't yours? Sartre said that man is a project lived subjectively, and that each choice reveals not only who you are, but the world you want to build. So choose. Choose with courage. Choose with truth. And if you don't know where to start, begin with this question. Today, am I loving as a free being or hiding in another to escape myself? In the comments, share. Which of these 5 requests have you most recognized in your life? And which have you made, consciously or not?